Egghead Hockey here. Today we're going to be doing yet another mock trade, but this one is a lot more crazy than the last. Today's trade involves two superstar players, and those players are Jack Eichel and Mitch Marner. Now, some of you might be saying, Jack Eichel is by far the best Sabre. Why would they trade him? Well, I don't think Buffalo will intentionally trade him. I think he'll request a trade and force Buffalo to trade him. Ever since Jack Eichel voiced his frustration with the Sabres, some people have begun talking about him potentially requesting for a trade. And some people have already gone ahead and made their own mock trades. And a lot of these are actually quite good, and others are really bad. So today, we're going to try making our own Jack Eichel mock trade. So I hope you enjoy. When a franchise player like Eichel comes on the market, most teams try to make an effort for trading this player. So there are a lot of mock trades. So you can expect me to make a couple more of these mock trade videos involving Eichel or reviewing other people's Eichel mock trades. Eichel isn't a trading block player yet, but he seems so frustrated, and sometimes when a player like this is frustrated with their team, they request a trade. Regardless of his frustration, I still can't say there's more than a 50% chance that Eichel will get traded. If Eichel were to get traded, he would be traded to a team that is good and is actually in the playoffs. The Leafs are in the playoffs and they're pretty good, but their lineup is very one-sided in favor of offense, which does cause them to somewhat struggle, but it can be fixed. And Eichel would flourish in Toronto because of the great amount of forwards they have. And something he would run into is the Leafs' abundance of star centermen, which can be taken as a positive and a negative. The negative is that either him or another star centerman would have to be a winger, but the positive is this means that he will probably play alongside another superstar, and he has wanted to play with someone good for quite a long time. So we've talked about why there's a slight chance that Eichel could get moved and why he might like Toronto, but we haven't talked about why Marner would get moved. Well, there have been some small trade rumors involving Mitch Marner. If Eichel or someone similar in skill or potential wasn't on the market, I would say that there's no way that Marner would get moved. But since there are some rumors of Eichel potentially moving, I would say that Marner would be a possible candidate for a trade. Marner has been above a point per game this season and has been one of the better Leafs, which actually means a lot more than you realize because they have two superstars in John Tavares and Austin Matthews. Marner is a franchise potential player in my opinion, and he has been a very good contributor to the Leafs. And he led them in points last year with 94, so he has not disappointed. In fact, he has been a higher scorer than Eichel every season but this year, and that was because he was injured. You could argue that Marner's stats are getting padded because he plays with Matthews and Tavares, and Eichel has no one, so that's why his stats are worse. So just because Marner scores more than Eichel doesn't mean he's better, and I think that's 100% true. And I know this is a hot take, but I think Eichel and Marner are somewhat similar in skill. I think Eichel is better, but I still think they're both similar franchise talents. So let's talk about potential. Eichel has the potential to be a consistent 80-point scorer. He is clearly a franchise potential player, no questions asked. Eichel is a mix of playmaking and goal scoring that I really like, and that makes him a very valuable player. No matter what team he's on, he can score and he can make plays. So if he doesn't have any talent around him, he can still carry your team up. Whereas Marner has similar potential and is also a franchise talent, but he's a lot more of a playmaker than he is a goal scorer, which means you have to have someone who can finish playing with him, or he isn't going to be as good as he can be. And Buffalo doesn't really have too many players like this. So until Buffalo adds some talent around, he won't have as much of an impact as he currently does on the Leafs if he were to play on Buffalo. So it's pretty clear that Marner has less trade value than Eichel because A, he's a little worse, and B, he is a less valuable player. So if this trade were a 1-for-1, it wouldn't be necessarily fair. It isn't a huge gap in value, but something does have to be changed to make this trade even. So let's look at the exact trade that I've come up with. The trade is Jack Eichel for Mitch Marner, Toronto's 2020 second round pick, and Toronto's 2020 5th round pick. This trade is tough to pull off with both Toronto and Buffalo's current cap situation, and the skill gap between Marner and Eichel is hard to tell. So some of you may think Marner is better than Eichel, some of you may think Eichel is better than Marner, and some of you may think they're pretty similar. And some of you may also think Toronto is overpaying for Eichel, and some of you may think they're underpaying. And I think it's pretty fair. I think Marner is worse than Eichel, and I think the trade is pretty fair, and you do have to overpay a little bit because of the untapped potential that Eichel has from not having much talent around him, and the fact that he is close to $1 million cheaper. I couldn't really add any other players to this trade as both teams are right up against the cap wall, but luckily, the picks are still useful for the Sabres, as they still need to get some more prospects, as they're still technically in a rebuild. Yes, they're kind of looking for things now. They're not really looking for long-run things, but I think even if they wanted, they could use the picks as trade chips. Overall, this is a tough trade to predict, because these players are so loved by their fan bases. And I'm very sure some of you are disagreeing, and some of you are agreeing. So if you disagree or agree, tell me in the comment section below. I will respond to all non-hate comments. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm sorry that was a little short. There isn't much analysis to do on this trade because these players, it's sort of just straightforward and there isn't really any need to get rid of these players, and they're all both very good, so there isn't much debate either. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you enjoyed the second mock trades episode. Until next time, bye.